I walk through the glass doors of the building that once destroyed me. 10 years ago, I left here humiliated, stripped of my marriage, my home, and my dignity. Today, I entered as the new owner. Security guards stand straight. Employees whisper. Their eyes follow me like shadows. I hold my head high, but inside my heart is pounding. I have waited for this moment for a decade. On the far side of the lobby, I see him. My ex-husband. He looks smaller than I remembered. His hair is gray, his suit hangs loose. For a moment, our eyes lock. I see confusion, then shock, then fear. His voice from that night echoes in my mind. The lies, the betrayal, the sound of my sister's laughter behind the bedroom door. I swallow hard. I didn't come here to cry. I came here to take back what was mine. He steps forward. Is it really you? His voice cracks. Yes, I say, calm and cold. It's me. The woman you threw away. Whispers ripple across the lobby. Everyone knows something is happening, but no one dares speak. Inside, a storm rages. I remember the night I left. The rain, my suitcase, their faces at the window. I fought for every step of my life since then. Every job, every deal, every sleepless night. I built an empire from my own pain, and now I'm standing here, owner of the company that once belonged to him. Owner of his pride, his legacy, his life's work. He reaches out a trembling hand. How is this possible? I don't take it. You made your choices, I say softly. Now you'll live with mine. The elevator dings. I step inside without looking back. The doors slide shut, cutting off the lobby's noise. Only my reflection stares back at me, a woman reborn from ashes. I whisper to myself, this is just the beginning. I still remember the smell of that night. Wet concrete, perfume, and betrayal. It's burned into me like a scar. Back then, I was just a wife. A good one. I cooked, I cleaned, I supported his dreams. We had a small but beautiful home, and I believed in forever. I believed in him. My sister came to live with us for a few months, just until she found her footing. She was younger, flashier, full of charm. I never imagined she'd be the knife in my back. Looking back now, the signs were everywhere. The late-night calls, the sudden business trips, the whispered laughter I heard when I walked into a room. I told myself I was imagining things. I told myself no one could be that cruel. I wanted my marriage to work so badly that I silenced my own instincts. That night, the rain was falling hard. I had stayed late at the small boutique where I worked, folding clothes until my fingers ached. I bought groceries on the way home, thinking I'd surprise them with dinner. When I opened the front door, the house was dark except for a faint light from upstairs. I carried the bags into the kitchen. That's when I heard it, a low laugh. My sister laughed, and then his voice, soft and playful. The sound of a zipper, the sound of my heart breaking. I went upstairs slowly, as if my body didn't belong to me. The hallway smelled of her perfume. My hands were shaking so hard I thought I'd dropped the groceries, still clutched against my chest. I stopped outside our bedroom door. I heard her say his name, a sound I could never erase. I pushed the door open. What I saw made me drop everything. Groceries spilled across the carpet. Apples rolling, milk spilling like a white river. He jumped up, half-dressed. She didn't even bother to cover herself. She just stared at me, her eyes wide but not ashamed. Wait, this isn't what you think, he said. His voice sounded small, like a boy caught stealing. It's exactly what I think, I whispered. My voice didn't even sound like mine. My sister laughed nervously. You don't understand? No, I said. I understand perfectly. I turned and walked downstairs. He followed, shouting my name, but I didn't stop. I grabbed a suitcase from the closet and threw in whatever I could reach. Jeans, old t-shirts, a photo of my mother. My sister's perfume still clung to the air. It made me gag. He grabbed my arm. Please, we can fix this. It was a mistake. I looked him in the eyes. You made your choice. Now live with it. I walked out into the rain. My suitcase hit each stair with a thud. I didn't even have an umbrella. The cold water soaked me to the bone, but it felt cleaner than the house I had left. Behind me, their faces stared out from the window. My husband and my sister, side by side like strangers. That was the last time I saw them together. The next months were hell. I stayed on a friend's couch. I worked double shifts. At night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling, replaying that moment over and over. I felt worthless, invisible. I hated them, but I hated myself more for trusting them. Then something changed. One night I looked in the mirror and saw a stranger staring back. Her eyes were hollow, but there was a spark there too. A spark of anger. A spark of life. I whispered to her, "You're not done." And I believed it. I took every small job I could find. I learned new skills: accounting, marketing, negotiation. I read business books at the library because I couldn't afford to buy them. I stopped wasting time on dreams of love and started building something real: my independence. Years passed. The anger didn't go away, but it hardened into focus. I got a position at a mid-sized company. I worked nights, weekends, and holidays. I watched how the executives moved, how they spoke, how they closed deals. I made myself indispensable. Promotion after promotion, until one day I was running my own department. Then I left to start my own business. It wasn't easy. I failed twice. I ate noodles out of a paper cup, slept in my office, and cried into my pillow. But each failure taught me something. Each scar became a lesson. Slowly my business grew. My pain became my fuel. By the 8th year, I was no longer surviving. I was thriving. By the 9th, my company was strong enough to compete with his. By the 10th, I was in a position to buy it. The day I signed the takeover papers, my hands were steady. I didn't feel joy. I didn't feel revenge. I felt empty, but also free. Free to walk back into that building as someone new. So here I am, 10 years later. The rain has stopped. I'm back in the building where my life ended and began. Only now, I'm not the woman who left in tears. I'm the woman who returned as an owner. I've turned betrayal into power. I've turned their sin into my freedom. But as I step out of the elevator onto the top floor, I know this story isn't over yet. He's still here. My sister is somewhere out there too. And the past has a way of demanding to be heard. This is where the real confrontation begins. The doors open with a soft hiss, but it sounds like thunder to me. I step out onto the executive floor, my heels clicking on polished marble. Everything smells of leather and cold air conditioning. But beneath it, I swear, I can smell the past: perfume, rain, and lies. The office has changed, but the energy hasn't. This was once his kingdom. I used to tiptoe here carrying lunch for him, terrified of making a mistake. Now the staff rises as I pass. They don't know if they should smile or bow. Their confusion feeds my courage. At the end of the hallway, his office door is half open. Voices drift out. A man's low tone, his, and a woman's sharper one, her, my sister. My heart thuds against my ribs. For 10 years I imagined this moment, and still I'm trembling. I walk down the hallway, each step slow, deliberate. My palms are damp, but my face stays calm. As I reach the door, I hear her say, "She's not coming back." She's finished. We're safe. I push the door wide. They both spin around. He's standing by the window, older, his tie loose. She's perched on the arm of a leather chair, expensive jewelry glinting at her neck. For a heartbeat, no one speaks. Then my sister's smile flickers and dies. "It can't be," she whispers. "It is," I say, my voice steady. "Did you miss me?" He takes a step forward. "We didn't know—" "Stop," I cut him off. "You knew exactly what you did." I walk into the office, my heels echoing. Every inch of this place once belonged to him. Now every inch belongs to me. I run my hand over the desk. It feels like victory and ash all at once. My sister tries to smile. "We can explain." Things weren't as they seemed. I turn on her, my eyes sharp. "You were my sister. You lived under my roof. You wore my clothes, ate my food, and you slept with my husband." "Explain that." She swallows hard. "I was lost. He promised me." "Don't you dare," I hissed. "Don't you dare play the victim." He steps between us. "This is my fault, not hers." "No," I say softly. "It's both of yours. But you'll pay for it in different ways." He frowns. "What do you want? Money? An apology?" I laugh, a low, bitter sound. "Money. I own everything here. I came for closure." My sister rises, her hands shaking. "You don't understand. We were in love. Love?" I spit the word. Love is staying when it's hard. Love is loyalty. What you had was lust and greed. And now it's over. Silence fills the room. Outside the window, the city stretches gray and endless. Inside, time feels frozen. I take a slow breath. 10 years ago, I walked out of this building with nothing but a suitcase. You watched me disappear. Today, I stand here with everything you ever wanted. And you... I look at him. are a guest in your own office. He lowers his gaze. I made mistakes. Yes, I say. And now you live with them. I turn to leave, but my sister grabs my arm. Her nails dig into my skin. Please, she whispers. Don't ruin us. We're broke. The company's failing. We have nothing left. I pull my arm free. Then you know how it feels. Tears fill her eyes. For a moment, I almost feel pity, but then I remember the rain, the laughter, the smell of perfume in my bedroom. The pity burns away. He speaks again, voice raw. We can work something out. We can rebuild together. I turn back slowly. Rebuild? With the people who burned me to the ground? No, this is not a reunion. This is a reckoning. I step closer, my face inches from his. I will keep this company. I will rebuild it my way, and you will watch from the outside as I do what you couldn't. He flinches, but I'm not done. I reach into my bag and pull out a single photograph. The three of us at a family barbecue years ago, smiling like fools. I placed it on his desk. That was the day before you started sleeping with her, I say quietly. I kept it to remind me who I used to be. I don't need it anymore. I turn to my sister. You wanted my life. You took it. Now you get to keep the pieces, she whispers. Please forgive me. Forgive? I shake my head. Forgiveness is for people who are sorry before they're caught. For a long moment, no one speaks. The only sound is the hum of the city below. Then I straighten my shoulders. This is the last time I'll stand in this room with you both, I say. From now on, you're out. I've arranged a severance. You'll leave quietly or I'll make it public. Every document, every scandal, every debt. Choose. He stares at me, pale. My sister clutches her necklace like it's a lifeline. Neither of them answers. They don't need to. I've already won. I turn and walk toward the door. My heels sound like a drum beat, final, unstoppable. As I reach the hallway, I hear my sister's sob. I don't look back. I ride the elevator down alone. My hands are shaking, but my heart feels strangely light. 10 years of anger, of planning, of imagining this moment, and it's over. Not with shouting or violence, but with silence and a signature. Power, I realize, isn't revenge. Power is walking away whole when they expect you to be broken. When the doors open on the ground floor, the staff stares. They don't know what just happened upstairs. They only see me walking out, head high. I step into the sunlight. It's warm on my skin. For the first time in a decade, I feel free. But freedom is complicated. As I walk toward my car, a question rises inside me. Now what? Without the anger, who am I? Without the fight, what do I do next? The wind carries no answer. I glance back at the building one last time. In its windows, I see my reflection, a woman forged in betrayal, standing alone but unbroken. I whisper to myself, you made it. You survived. Now live. I open the car door, slide inside, and drive away, leaving the ghosts behind. I woke up the next morning to silence. No adrenaline, no anger to fuel me, just an enormous quiet that felt like an empty cathedral inside my chest. For 10 years I'd been climbing toward one summit, the confrontation. And now I was standing at the top of a mountain with nothing but clouds around me. The city outside my window was slick with rain. Down on the street, umbrellas bloomed like black flowers. I poured coffee into a cup and held it without drinking. My reflection in the kitchen window startled me. I looked like a stranger. The armor I'd been wearing for years, hatred, plans, spreadsheets, legal strategies, had fallen away overnight. What was left was me, a woman, 41 years old, alone in a luxury apartment bought with her ex-husband's money, but still carrying the scars he gave her. I thought of him and my sister. They would wake up this morning in a hotel or some rented flat, their kingdom dismantled. They would call lawyers. They would call each other names. They would probably call me, but I had already changed my number. The company was mine. Their power was over. But victory is a strange animal. It doesn't purr. It just sits in the room, staring at you, waiting to see what you'll do next. I spent the day in meetings with my new board. They congratulated me on the acquisition, asked about strategy, and offered loyalty. I nodded, I spoke, but inside I was far away. I was thinking about a girl at a family barbecue, handing a plate of food to her sister, laughing. That girl was gone. By evening, I was too restless to stay in. I went for a walk through the old neighborhood, the one I had fled a decade earlier. The houses were smaller than I remembered. The sidewalks cracked. The bakery where I used to buy bread had closed. Time had not only changed me, it had changed everything. I stopped in front of the little church on the corner. Its doors were open, light spilling out. Without thinking, I stepped inside. The smell of candles and wood hit me, warm and familiar. I sat in a back pew. No one else was there. For years I had dreamed of revenge like it was a destination. Now I had arrived, and I didn't know how to pray. My hands shook. I whispered into the empty church. I did it. I won. But why do I still feel hollow? The answer didn't come as a voice from above. It came as a memory, my mother's voice saying, "Winning doesn't heal. Only living does." I left the church and walked until the city lights blurred. That night, in my apartment, I opened a locked box I had carried through every move. Inside were old letters from my sister, photographs from the early days of my marriage, a recipe written in my mother's handwriting. I spread them across the table. Each piece was a shard of the life I had lost. One by one, I fed them into the fireplace. The paper curled and blackened. The smell of smoke filled the room, sharp and clean. When the last photograph turned to ash, I felt something inside me unclench. The next weeks were a blur of transition. I renamed the company, replacing his name with mine. I restructured the board, promoted people who had been overlooked, cut ties with corrupt suppliers. Every decision was a small act of self-definition. This is my company now. This is my life now. Meanwhile, news of the takeover spread. Business papers called it a stunning reversal and a real-life soap opera. Reporters camped outside the building. They wanted to know if the rumors were true, if the new CEO had once been the scorned wife of the former owner. I refused interviews. I wasn't interested in giving them a headline. This was not a spectacle for strangers. It was my story. Still, the headlines reached him and my sister. Through a mutual acquaintance, I learned they were drowning in debt. He had been mismanaging the company for years, covering losses with loans. Without it, they had nothing. They sold their cars, their jewelry. My sister applied for a job at a rival firm and was turned away. Eventually, they moved out of the city. Where they went, I didn't ask. Sometimes at night, I wondered what they said about me. Did they call me ruthless? Did they regret what they had done? Did they still cling to each other, or had betrayal poisoned even their partnership? The questions floated like ghosts. I stopped chasing the answers. They no longer mattered. One rainy Sunday, months later, I received a letter. No return address, just my name written in a familiar hand. My heart stuttered. I opened it slowly. Inside was a single page. "I am sorry. I don't ask for forgiveness. I only want you to know that I understand now." I stared at the signature. It wasn't my sister's name. It was an initial. Maybe it was hers, maybe his, maybe both. I folded the letter and put it in a drawer. I didn't reply. That evening I sat on my balcony, watching the city. For the first time in years, I felt no weight on my chest. I realized something simple. I didn't need their apology. I had already freed myself. I began to travel. Paris, Kyoto, Istanbul, places I had once only read about. I stood on bridges, in markets, at the edge of seas, and felt the world open. Each journey was a reminder. My life was bigger than the betrayal that had defined it. I was not just a wronged wife, not just a CEO. I was a person in motion. But healing is not a straight line. Some nights I woke from dreams of my sister's face, young and laughing, before everything went wrong. Some days I missed the man my husband had been before the lies. Grief and triumph coexisted like two shadows inside me. I learned to let them both be there. As the first anniversary of the takeover approached, I decided to host a gala, not to celebrate revenge, but to mark rebirth. I invited every employee, from executives to janitors. I stood on the stage and told them a sanitized version of my story. Not the gossip, not the pain, just the lesson. I built this company on survival, I said. Now we will build it on integrity. This is not about the past. This is about who we choose to be next. The applause was thunderous. For a moment, the sound filled the hollow space inside me. Not completely, but enough. Later, alone in my office, I looked out over the city lights. I thought about the moral of my own story. Betrayal has taught me about power, but also about empathy. Vengeance had given me closure, but not joy. Joy came from creating something better than what had been destroyed. I sat down and wrote in my journal, "I will not be defined by what they did to me. I will be defined by what I build after." When I closed the journal, I felt a strange, quiet peace. Not the sharp thrill of revenge, but the soft weight of acceptance. Months turned into a year. The company thrived. My name appeared on business awards lists. People began to speak of me not as a victim who had clawed back what was hers, but as a leader in her own right. My past became a footnote, not a headline. One crisp autumn morning, as I walked through the lobby, a young intern stopped me. "Ma'am," she said shyly, "your story, what little I've heard, gives me hope. It makes me believe you can come back from anything," I smiled. "You can," I told her. "But the real victory isn't coming back. It's moving forward." One crisp autumn morning, as I walked through the lobby, a young intern stopped me. "Ma'am," she said shyly, "your story, what little I've heard, gives me hope. It makes me believe you can come back from anything." I smiled. "You can," I told her. "But the real victory isn't coming back. It's moving forward." That night, I returned to the little church. It was empty again. I sat in the back pew and whispered, "Thank you." Not to God, not to fate, but to the version of myself who had survived, who had fought, who had walked away from that office without looking back. As I left, the wind caught my hair. I felt light. For the first time in a decade, I wasn't living in reaction to what had been done to me. I was simply living. I never imagined silence could feel so heavy. After that boardroom confrontation, my phone hasn't stopped ringing. Reporters, shareholders, old friends who turned their backs on me 10 years ago, they all want a piece of my story. But all I want is to breathe. I stand at the window of my penthouse, looking down at the city I built my life in. Somewhere below all that steel and glass, my ex-husband is scrambling. I can almost feel it, his panic, his confusion. I've seen that look before, on the night I caught him with my sister. Back then, I was the one trembling. Now the roles are reversed. My assistant knocks softly and slips a tablet into my hand. "The press is calling it the coup of the decade," she says. "Do you want to comment?" "No," I reply, setting it aside. "Not yet. The screen still glows." Headlines blur together. Scorned wife returns as CEO. Family betrayal ends in corporate takeover. Part of me wants to smile. Part of me just feels tired. Later that afternoon, my phone buzzes again. This time it's a private number. I almost ignore it, but something in my gut makes me answer. "Hello." My voice is flat, a ragged breath on the other end. It's me. I recognize it instantly, my sister's voice. For a moment, I'm back in that rainy night, my suitcase on the porch, her face behind the window next to his. My throat tightens. "What do you want?" "I manage. I need to see you," she says. Her voice shakes. "Please." Everything's falling apart. I close my eyes. 10 years of silence, and now she calls because she's losing everything. "I'm not your savior," I whisper. "I didn't call for help," she says quickly. "I called to apologize." "You were right. About everything." The words hang between us like a blade. I wait, but she doesn't speak again. Finally, I hung up. My hands are trembling, but not from rage, something more complicated, heavier. That night, I couldn't sleep. My mind runs in circles. His face, her voice, the years I spent building this moment. I thought revenge would feel like freedom, but now it feels like standing on the edge of a cliff, staring down at what's left of myself. The next day, I walked into the office. Reporters swarm outside, flashes popping. Inside, employees stand straighter than usual, whispering. I head straight for the executive floor. He's already there, waiting in my old chair. "I won't fight you," he says as I enter. His suit is rumpled, his eyes bloodshot. "It's over." I sit opposite him, hands folded. "You built this company with my money, my contacts, my work. You stole my life and my family. I'm just taking it back." He looks down at the table. "We were stupid, greedy. I lost everything. Please," his voice cracks. "Don't destroy it completely. People work here. They have families." For a second, the anger in me flickers. The employees, people who never wronged me, flash through my mind. "I'm not here to ruin livelihoods," I say slowly. "But you're done. Effective immediately." He nods like he expected it. But then he says something I don't expect. "She's sick." I blink. "What? Your sister?" he says quietly. "She's been ill for months. She didn't want you to know. She thinks she deserves it." The room tilts. All the headlines, the victory, the boardroom applause, they fade. I hear my sister's shaking voice on the phone again. Everything's falling apart. I stand abruptly. Get out, I say. We're finished here. He leaves without another word. By evening, I'm standing in a hospital hallway. My heart is hammering. I tell myself I'm only here for closure. But deep down, I know it's more than that. She's lying in a small room, pale against the sheets, hair thinner than I remember. When she sees me, her eyes fill with tears. I didn't think you'd come, she whispers. I sit beside her bed but keep my distance. You called me. I deserved everything you've done, she says, voice breaking. I ruined your life, I swallow hard. You helped him ruin it. But I rebuilt it anyway. She reaches out a trembling hand. I'm sorry. For the first time in a decade, I let myself look at her. Not the betrayer, but my sister. The girl I grew up with. The girl who once protected me from bullies, who braided my hair before school. The memories hit me like a wave. I don't know if I can forgive you, I say softly. But I'm here. She closes her eyes, tears slipping down her cheeks. That's enough. We sit in silence. Machines beep softly. Somewhere down the hall, a child laughs. Life goes on, even here. That night, alone again, I stared at the city lights. My revenge is complete. The company is mine. My ex-husband is ruined. My sister is dying. And yet inside me there's no triumph. Only a strange ache. Maybe revenge isn't an ending. Maybe it's just another beginning, one that forces you to face the wreckage left behind. I whisper into the empty room. What do I do now? No answer comes, only the low hum of the city. It's been 3 weeks since the hospital. 3 weeks since the boardroom. 3 weeks since everything I thought I wanted finally became mine. Every morning I wake up in my penthouse, walk across marble floors, and stand at the window with my coffee. Down below, the company carries on. People arrive, meetings happen, contracts are signed. My name is on every door. And yet, some mornings, I still feel like the girl with a suitcase in the rain. Today, I decided to visit the old neighborhood. I haven't been back since the night I left. As my car winds through the narrow streets, memories rise like ghosts. The bakery on the corner, the school where my sister and I used to wait for our father, the house with the cracked porch where my life broke apart. I stopped outside the nursing home where my mother spent her last years. I never brought my sister here. I never brought my ex-husband either. They never wanted to come. I sat in the car for a long time, staring at the sign. For the first time in years, I whisper a prayer for her. My sister is still in the same bed. She's thinner now, weaker. When she sees me, a flicker of surprise crosses her face. You came back, she murmurs. I keep coming back, I say. I don't know why, she smiles faintly. Because you're not like us. I sat down beside her, my hands folded. I'm not here to forgive everything, I tell her. But I'm tired of carrying all this. She looks at me with eyes I barely recognize. Then let it go. You already won. Silence stretches between us. For the first time, I notice how quiet the machines are. Her hand trembles in mine, and for a heartbeat I see not the betrayer, but the sister who once tied ribbons in my hair. I built my life on anger, I whisper. I thought revenge would fix the hole in me, but it just built new walls. You're still alive, she says softly. You still have time. A week later, I called a meeting of the senior staff. I stand at the head of the table, my ex-husband seated at the far end. He looks like a ghost of the man I once knew. I called you all here for one reason, I began. This company was born from my pain, but it can't live on it. I pause, scanning their faces. I'm stepping down as CEO, effective immediately. I'll remain the majority shareholder, but I'm appointing new leadership. A murmur ripples through the room. My ex-husband looks up, stunned. I didn't come back just to destroy, I continue. I came back to reclaim myself, and I've done that. After the meeting, he follows me into the corridor. Why are you doing this? He asks quietly. You won. I turn to him. Winning isn't the same as healing. For the first time in 10 years, there's no anger in his eyes, only regret. I'm sorry, he says. I know, I replied. But sorry doesn't erase the past. I sit at my desk, writing a letter to no one in particular. Outside, the city hums. Inside, the silence feels lighter. I write, I thought revenge would make me whole. But life isn't a story about villains and heroes. It's a story about choices and how we live with them. I chose to survive. I chose to fight, and now I choose to let go. I seal the letter and slip it into a drawer. Then I pick up my phone and dial the hospital. "How is she?" I ask the nurse. A pause. "Better," the nurse says. "She asked if you'd visit." I smile, a small, unexpected thing. "Tell her I'll be there tomorrow." The next morning, I walk through the park as the sun rises. I feel the weight of 10 years lifting, bit by bit. The company, the revenge, the bitterness. They're still part of me, but they no longer define me. I sit on a bench and watch the lights spill over the city. For the first time in a decade, I feel something like peace. I whisper to no one and everyone, "This is my life, and I'm finally living it."